Hello, everybody. Andy here from Goals Off Dead, the #1 kill team channel on YouTube. Unless, of course, you are aware of any other channel on YouTube, in which case I've lied to you. Hello, how's it going? So, obviously, you saw my video yesterday talking about, hey, there were some leaks, but I didn't actually talk about what the leaks were. I talked about why they might be coming out and then talking about my wish list for what those leaks were. At the time, I did have the leaks, but I didn't read them until after I recorded that video. So I then went away and read them. But then today, so I had planned to do like a really well edited video for going over the leaks for you. And like every time I would show kind of on Battle Kit, hey, here's what they look, here's what they were, and then here's the new thing, and it was going to be really good. But instead of that, I haven't done that, so I'm just going to read everything to you. Cool, there you go. Is what it is. There you go. If they had left it until next Wednesday, which is when I was hoping it was going to release, um, you'd have had a really well edited video. But instead, you have me reading it to you. So, hey, in case you don't know, the World Championships is coming up. It's on the 6th till the 9th of November, I think I want to say. 6th to the 9th of November. We also assume that after that date for Kill Team, that is when the seasonal rotation will first take place. I hope that we do get a Warcom article explaining exactly what that is, really, and what it means, and if they could maybe give a bit more guidance, that'd be nice, but there you go. But after Worlds, if you're looking to go to a golden ticket event, you will probably not be able to use Season 1 teams. Lovely. So anyway, this is just a walk-on page. If you go here, it's just here, World Championship of Warhammer balance updates. So these are new and specific, and so the first thing we have to talk about is that it's formatted differently. So that's how you can find it yourself. There you go. They do point out that these are, I don't want to say emergency, but they're not their usual delivery mechanism, right? And so here we go. So this is an interesting, different thing that we're getting. However, I bloody love it. This is amazing. This is how I want everything to be released. Genuinely, we know that we get 4 balance patches a year. Okay, give it to us like this. Now, instead of having to open 30 different, update 30 different things in my app and open 30 different PDFs so I can read them to you guys, there's one document. This is great. And now I know that in addition to this, they are going to give us this one document and then also go ahead and update everything as they have before. That is then genuinely how I think the update should be done. In the past, I've always had a complaint about this is quite difficult to pass. If you're only interested in one faction, this is fine, but for anybody else, there's a lot to take into account. This plus what they will do normally is spot on. I really like it. My only concern, of course, is that this bit that we are given here is a one-off, and they will not do it again, and I hope that's not the case. Okay, anyway, let's get into it. So first things first, we have a change to Vulcus doors. This is a good change. I like it. So basically, in case you don't know, on Vulcus, you have your large ruins and you have your strongholds. The doors actually operate differently on those two things. This is saying they do not operate differently anymore. They all operate like stronghold doors. Good. Perfect. What does that mean for you? So basically, now you can, if there is an enemy on the other side of the door, you can charge the door. On large terrain, it used to be you couldn't. You had to, move and then hatchway fight because you weren't technically in control range because the door acted as heavy or it was just a wall. You couldn't see through it. Now that's not the case. Perfect. I like unifying the rules. There was no need to have two different door rules. This is good. Big fan. We then get some clearing up of universal equipment. Let's start with the ladders. So ladders are insignificant and exposed. That's not a big deal. Don't worry. Basically, they used to be something else, and it was a one-off keyword that they didn't use anywhere else, and now they're insignificant. Nice. So they've changed how ladders work. You are no longer climbing a ladder. A ladder, when it is in your control range, now just gives you a buff. I really like this. This is a much, much better way to explain how ladders work. So much more streamlined. This is now, if you have a ladder within your control range and you are climbing something else, like who cares what else, doesn't matter, the ladder gives you a buff. So good, spot on. This will clear up a lot of issues. We no longer have to wonder exactly how ladders work. This is really good. I would really like to see them kind of take this forward into account for like other rules that they might want to in perhaps kind of when they redo the edition. This is really nice in how they should do things. I like it. They also clear up the portable barricades, ignore the feet which are insignificant and exposed. That actually makes it a lot easier to shoot somebody behind a portable barricade. Just throwing that out there. That is actually a nerf to the portable barricade from a realistic, practical point of view. Nice. Smoke grenades have had a buff. So now, basically, you lower the piercing of the grenade, of the attack that shoots you when you are in smoke. This is really interesting, because basically what they're telling us, me, my interpretation here, is that they really don't want you to ever actually take an obscured shot, right? They just don't want you to. Yeah, there you go. Although I guess a buff here is also that if you can ignore obscuring, whenever you're shooting an enemy operative wholly, you even if your enemy can ignore obscuring, you're not ignoring the smoke grenade ability, so you would still get the -2 piercing, which is nice, I guess, nice little buff. And this makes sense. I think that basically, uh, if you had a piercing 1 or even a piercing 2 weapon, it was still worth taking an obscured shot, if somebody just stood in the open with a smoke grenade. So this is saying, "Hey, we really don't want you to do that, by the way." That's cool. Fine. Makes sense. We then get on to the Angels of Death errata. Now, if you recall my video yesterday, um, Angels of Death needed a buff. They lost Dueler, and that was their crutch, which is unfortunate to say. I also think now Death Watch is just a better Angels of Death. So there will have to be some really interesting, good abilities here to make AOD better than Death Watch and more interesting than Death Watch. So let's see what we've got. So if you're taking the commander, the captain, sorry, which is the only model you'll ever take, so that's fine because you get a once per game not feel no pain, sorry, just a scratch. Use the combat doctrine strategy deploy when you activate a friendly AOD operative if this operative is in the kill zone and isn't within control range of enemy operatives. Pay its CP cost as normal. Note that you cannot do so during if you've already used that ploy during this turn point. There you go. It's another way of using the combat doctrine ploys. Fine. Oh, I don't really care. So here is the interesting stuff. The chapter tactics, that's what the AOD are all about. Let's see how we can upgrade ourselves now. So Resolute. Normally changes to the operative's APL, and now in addition, not affected by shock weapon rule. Okay. I suppose. Sure. Fine. Okay. All right, fine, cool, good. It's a buff. Hardy, in addition to whatever it was before, I don't know. Whenever this operative, so now you get a damage reduction. So you get normal damage of 3 or more is -1. So that's actually really tasty. Normally, damage reductions these days are 4 or more are -1. So this is actually pretty tasty to the point that I don't even know what the other part of Hardy is. If I had to guess, that's where you save on 5s, something like that. If I had to take a wild swing at the fences on that one. Lethal crit 5s, basically, in defense. Damage of 3 or more. That means if you're shot by a bolt or a normal hit, it's just 2 damage. That's so that is mandatory for the team. That, in essence, takes you from 14 wounds to 16, 17 wounds, easy. Like, almost minimum. Unless you're hit with a melter. Yeah, you're now just natively more durable than Death Watch, even though Death Watch have +1 hit points. but you don't get the heals, obviously. But yeah, so basically, Hardy is very good. That is now the mandatory pick. Fair enough. Cool. Sharpshooter. So normally you just give you severe. Now you also get accurate 1. Now, hey, can anybody remember if accurate 1? So severe is if you roll a crit, you get another crit. Accurate 1 means you don't roll a dice, which means you're less likely to get a crit. I don't know. That's, I mean, thematically, accurate 1 for sharpshooter makes perfect sense. Let's keep going because there's a lot here. This is a huge data slate, by the way. So siege specialists, whenever this operative is fighting or retaliating, enemy operatives cannot assist. That's fine. Cool. What do we think about that? Hardy is a great buff. Honestly, I think if you want to play this team, Hardy and whatever it is, aggressive, so you get rending in melee, that's probably the way to play them. I say that because I'm a melee biased guy, but I think that would be actually a really good, strong way to play AOD. Is that enough? Is that what they need? I definitely didn't feel like, oh, AOD are easy to kill and need damage reduction, but I'm just going to say it. I think that damage reduction on AOD was the wrong choice. Yeah. Like, we have damage reduction on lots of teams now to the point that it's becoming a bit silly. And the reason it's becoming a bit silly is because it's too strong normally. But you have to give damage reduction to things that are like 7, 8 wounds because they're going to die too quickly in the current meta in the game. But I don't think you need damage reduction on a 14 wound model. Okay, fine, cool. AOD back in the meta, easy peasy, nice. Blades of Cain. So basically, they had one thing change from their special Banshee thing, which is their like torrent flamer thing when they're up close with the Banshees. Used to be 6 attack, now it's 5. And then also with the Rain of Tears, it used to be a case of if you got the kill, you could still do this. Now it's saying if you get the kill, you can't do this, which is fine because basically you could run in, kill, and then still run away, basically, which gives them a full 7-inch run away or whatever. It doesn't, as I'm reading here, but you get me. So that's fine. Makes it a little bit less flexible, but not hugely. I don't think this is a massive change that's going to affect much, really. Blooded errata. So I know almost nothing about the blooded. Let's be clear on that. But whenever this operative has one of your blooded tokens or is wholly within your opponent's territory, I assume that used to be and, which completely changes that and makes it significantly better if that's a buff. Enforce operative. Whenever a friendly blooded operative is activated within 6 inches of this operative, you can ignore any changes to the operative's stats from being injured to the end of its activation, including his weapon stats. Whenever a friendly blooded operative is activated within 6 of this operative. Okay, that's pretty nice. I like that. That's a very nice buff for the Enforcer. Very cool. Then we get to the Brood Brothers. So this is one that whenever determining control of a marker within 4 inches of this operative, I assume this used to be 3 and this is a buff. But there's also a possibility that it was 6 and it's a nerf. I've got to say, I'm not like super into the Brood Brothers. But I have never ever heard the Icon Ward operative as being an issue. So why was this done? I don't know. But then we also get the Canoptech Circle, which is super cool to see that they have seen there's an issue. But the question, of course, now is this an emergency patch because they knew they messed up with Canoptech Circle? They're too strong. They need to emergency nerf them. Or is this a bunch of typos? Are we also going to get stuff for Death Watch? Because it goes A, B, C, D. And yes, we see below there is some Death Watch. So maybe these are just updates to wording. But of course, before we read that, I would like to give a subscriber-only benefit. And that subscriber-only benefit is a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. Truly the wholesomeness knows no bounds in the world of Glass Half Dead. Hey, if you like what you see here, check out my affiliate links. Whole load of stuff. Won't go into it here now. This is a super long video, I'm sure, because there's so much to talk about. So that'd be very awesome of you. Thank you for watching. Cool. So Canoptech Circle, faction rules. APL can't go to 4 for your Geomancer. Cool, this makes sense. I like it. Good. Good nerf. Again, is it a nerf or is it them adding words that should have already been there? Let's keep reading and find out. So we now get the Reanimator. You can only do it once per turning point. Basically, because of the way this ability was worded, you could um, do a heal somebody as in your activation, and you can also do it as a counter action. So there you go, and they've stopped that, which is good. Makes sense. You will still get guaranteed 1 a turn, so that's fine. Geomancer takes a nerf, so it used to be attack stat 6, damage stats was 1-3, I believe. Maybe, yeah, 1-3. Now it's attack stat 5, damage 1-2. His weapon is still really, really good. In case you don't know, it's got like shock, stun, lethal 5, I think. Brutal, maybe. Like, yeah, he still does a lot of interesting things with his weapon. 5 dice is okay. You know, you're not wanting to melee with him. His role is not melee. He just has a weapon that you can parry stuff out with. So it's fine. And then you get the Tomb Crawler Operative Dimensional Banishment Weapon Rule. That's the guy with the really big gun that deletes Marines. And basically, it's saying this overwrites everything else in the game. So it doesn't matter what your opponent has, reanimation, protocols, frenzy, doesn't matter. This deletes the model from the game. Cool. Which is nice. I like that. That's cool. And then there's a rules commentary, which I'm glad to see. So in a kill zone that uses the close quarters rules, is the obelisk node matrix measured through wall terrain? No. I didn't really mind which way they went with this, as I always say, but I'm glad to see that they've ruled on it either way. Big fan. I will say from the few times I played Canoptech Circle, it feels a bit of a shame that they can't go through walls, like thematically, but mechanically, I get it. Makes sense. Fine. Cool. Also, thematically, I also understand why not. But that's that. Yeah. So it makes sense that they can't. That does make them harder to use on any tomb mode. Nice. Death Watch. The Demolisher guy, his stuff no longer stacks. Nice. So his damage reduction no longer stacks, which is easier. There you go. I think, and total guess, let me know if you think this is right or wrong. I don't think this was, I think this was an oversight, and I don't think they're deliberately nerfing Death Watch with this. I think they just thought, oops, that was a mistake. We didn't want it to stack. We don't even know if Death Watch is too strong or strong enough yet, or too weak. We're just going to do this nerf now because nobody's taking the Demolisher. He's not the go-to guy, right? In 90% of matchups. So he's not the operative you look at to nerf. He was not the OP one. Yeah. Whereas these up here feel like this here this feels like, yeah, we need to tone this down. We made a mistake in the stats that we intended to give. Whereas this feels like, oops, we forgot to put in a rule. Nice. Exaction Squad. The Malakator Operative, Beriscant Action, Lethal 5 and Severe. Cool. Fine. Where's Severe? Do I know he has that weapon? It used to only give Severe, now it gives Lethal 5 as well. Blah, blah, blah. You see it there. Cool. Special issue shells, you can use them twice per turn. Now, I cannot remember what special issue shells do at all. Just to be clear, off the top of my head, I've got no clue, which is crazy. Because I like the Exaction Squad. I've just never been able to play them because one of my local guys plays Exaction sometimes. So they're his team. He can play them. Cool. And at any time I've thought, oh yeah, maybe I'll play them. He's taking them. So it's like, okay, fine. Cool. But I'm not sure if he's ever shot me with special issue shells. Well, he probably has. I've just forgotten it. But okay, cool. Nice. Good to see. Good to see. Good to see. But Exaction Squad need a bit of a buff. Both of these barely read like a buff. Although if special issue shells are actually incredibly strong, then obviously getting to use them twice is a buff. Belgor Ravagers. Faction rules. Frenzy. It cannot perform the pickup marker, unique, excluding sweeping blow, see Vandal or mission actions. So they've just allowed. Oh, okay. So basically, the Vandal got unduly nerfed due to stuff, due to the way they wrote his rules. So they've just removed that. Nice, good. Frenzy tokens. And the Iron Horn operative, call the attack rule, cannot be done when you are frenzied. Nice. Gellerpox infected. I'm shocked that these guys are being touched, but fine. Whenever a friendly Gellerpox infected Nightmare Hulk operative is fighting, your opponent cannot retain results of 3 as successes. Okay. Damn. Here's the thing. I don't know what this used to be because I don't care about Gellerpox, but that feels really strong. What did it used to be? Didn't they used to have a thing where it was like if you've rolled 2 misses, then you can't get a 3rd miss? Something weird like that? This is great, though. Every faction wants this. This is amazing. This seems good. I don't know what it used to be, though. Goremongers errata. So Goremongers, again, one of these teams that I haven't really kept up with since I beat them one time and then moved on. So we shall see. They're from the box that for some reason I just don't care about. Blood and Zeal. When I got it, I barely painted the teams up. Only just got the Sanctifiers finished. Never played either team. I've played against Goremongers once. I can't even tell you why. It's not like I hate the teams. I just something switched off in my brain when I got that box. I don't know. So, faction rules: Sanguine Vitae Rake. When change to read when a friendly Goremog operative performs a charge action during its activation. Okay, so I assume that is just turning off a counteract charge, allowing you to rake. Cool, sounds good. Trap ploys, gory tenacity, rounding up and to a minimum of 2. Yep, so without the rest of that rule, I don't know what that means. Great stuff. Again, I was going to do a well-edited video that would have put the actual original rule next to it, and then I would have commented on that. G-Dubs dropped it on me, and as you can tell, I missed the release. That's why I'm so late on this one. Aspirant operative, obsessive bloodlust rule. Once during each of this operative's activations, when this operative ends the fight action, so you can only do it once in the activation. No longer within control range of any operatives, you can use this rule. If you do, it can be right. So these seem, if I had to guess, that sounds like they're just bringing it in line with the way other things are worded, because I can't even imagine what that used to say. As you can tell, we've hit a team that I just don't know or care about. So, but there's lots of changes, so I have to read it. Incite operative, incite the hunt with either profile of its due pistols. Whenever this operative inflicts damage on the enemy operative so presumably this said either it said with something equipped by this operative, which means you couldn't use grenades, or it didn't say that, so you could use this incite the hunt with a grenade. Yeah, that's probably what it said, and people were using grenades. Hand of the Archon. So Hand of the Archon, I feel, need a buff. So let's see what it says. Power from pain, stimulated senses. You can reroll any of your dice results of 1 result, e.g. results of 2. So that means you get ceaseless, but they don't want to call it ceaseless because if you already have ceaseless as a keyword on the weapon, you can use ceaseless on all the 1s you miss, and then you could use this ability on all of the 2s you miss. However, I have found that normally when they very deliberately word things this way, like this, like they've done this before where they've said, oh, you can reroll any dice results of 1 result. It's like they've written that, or you can reroll 1 dice. It's like, oh, okay, so, and then you read through your whole team, and they don't have a single instance of ceaseless that could ever interact with this. It's like, oh, okay, so they could have just given me ceaseless. I assume that this used to be balanced, and they've made it ceaseless. Heavy or light terrain is intervening. That makes it easier for you to score denizens of night. Lovely. And this operative can perform 2 fight actions during its activation. 2 fight out. What did that used to be then? Crazy. Maybe you get to use 2 attack actions aren't a thing. I don't know what that used to be. There you go. Great stuff. I assume it's a buff because Hand of the Archon need a buff. Lovely. Oskin Salvages, unfortunately, chaps, we're in another faction that I don't really know particularly well here, so I'm just going to read them. And fingers crossed. Let's find out. So grudge has a change to it. You can retain one of your normal successes as a critical success instead, including any normal successes already retained as a result of the accurate weapon rule. Cool. So when they nerfed, let's not use those words. When they changed how the order processing of special keywords worked, basically they turned off rending interacting with certain things. Basically, okay. And now they're saying that they've turned it back on for grudge. So for a brief 3 months or so there, if you had a grudge, you couldn't use the accurate weapon that you had to guarantee a crit with severe. Now they're saying you can, I believe. That sounds about right. Strap ploys, wrought defense. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Hearthkin salvage operative, if you roll 1 or less successes, including any re-rolls, you can retain one of your fails as a normal success instead of discarding it. If you roll 1 or less successes, including any re-rolls, you can retain one of your fails as a normal. Okay. Interesting. Now, I've played against Hearthkin a few times this edition, and I know I've had wrought defense used against me. But okay. Oh, if I had to guess, this is you retain one of your fails instead of re-rolling one of your fails? If so, that's really, really good, I would say. I approve. I think, just statistically, that's even better than getting to just retain one of your dice, because you still get to roll it, so you might roll all 6s. That's actually very nice. I like that buff. Thane operative. We feel crest roll once per battle. When an attack dice inflicts normal damage on this operative, you can ignore that inflicted damage. If I had to guess, wait. Hold on. So, this is either two things. Because I know that oh wait, no, this is Hearthkin. I was thinking of Harnkin, sorry. Cool, sounds good. I assume that this is just bringing it in line with all the other just to scratch abilities. Lovely. You can't ignore crit damage. Cool. Those are operative. Brawler. Normal damage of 4 more inflicts 1 less damage on it. Interesting. Did it used to be 3 or more? And they've nerfed it? It's quite strange if so, because everything else is a bit of a buff. Okay. And then Kindling Operative is just in the kill zone, so they have to be deployed, and there you go. Nice. That is a change that they made to many, many things a while ago, and they've just added it in. Harnkin Jaeger have had a buff, so this here, 0 to 2, 0, this basically means as long as you're not tabled, you're always getting at least 1 resource point, which is nice. And also, I think this used to be 6+. So they've lowered it. So you're getting your resourceful points more consistently, even as you're dying. That's good. Second paragraph and bullet points change to read. You can spend one of your resourceful points during each activation of each friendly Harnkin Jaeger operative to do one of the following. Before or after it performs an action, if it's not within control range of enemy operatives, you can use this rule. If you do, add 1 to that friendly operative's APL stat until the end of its activation. When it's activated, if it's not within control range of enemy operatives, it regains up to D3 plus 1 lost wounds. Isn't that just what they could always do? You plus 1 APL or heal. Maybe it was only D3 heal? Okay. During each activation of each friendly Harkin operative, the only other thing I can think here is that perhaps they've changed the timing on it, so you're allowed to be a little bit more risky with it. So you don't have to do it when you activate them. You can, move, shoot, realize you haven't quite done what you wanted to do, pop your resourceful token, get an extra APL dash or tap the point, but you get to know whether your initial 2 APL are successful first. Then we get a high-tech circle errata. And we got 6 changes. 5 changes. So big changes for high-tech. Magnify. The magnify weapon rule. So whenever this operative is performing the shoot action with this weapon, if the target is visible to this operative and another friendly high-tech circle apprentice. Oh. That's Okay. Relevant part of the second sentence. For the purpose of determining valid target, that shoot actions, conditions, cover, and sorry. For the that shoot actions, conditions, cover, and okay. For the purposes of determining a valid target, that shoot actions, conditions, cover, and obscured. I don't know what they're saying. Moving on. Okay, so basically, you have to have visibility with the guy that's making a shoot weapon attack. They don't have to be a valid target. Huh. That is, to my understanding, a very big nerf to how Magnify works. Okay, cool. Anyway, reanimation protocols. A change to reanimation protocols. Interesting. For the purposes of the kill op. Oh, okay, all right, fine. Your opponent treats your starting number of high-tech circle operatives as 5. In other words, their kill grade goes up whenever a friendly high-tech circle operative is incapacitated to a maximum kill grade of 5. Reanimated operatives don't retroactively change any other VPs your opponent has scored, e.g. from TAC Ops. Interesting. So high-tech circle is an 8-operative team, if I recall. It's been a long time since I've looked at them. And they're just saying you have to kill less of them to max TAC Op. That is an interesting change. Interesting way to handle getting around the fact that reanimation protocols, when it comes to the kill op, is kind of busted. That's, yeah, interesting one. Okay, so they're still the same number of models. They still all count as what they need to count as. You just have to get 5 kills to max the crit op instead of 8. Cool. Okay. Chronomancer operative. Chronometron action. Subtract 1 from the attack stat of an operative's weapons whenever it's shooting that selected operative. Okay, so they no longer take a -1 in melee. Okay, cool. There's a nerf. Despotech operative. You can't do accelerate. So you can't comms buff twice. Makes sense. Firefight ploy is reanimated function. Additional text added. For the purpose of the Martyr's TAC op, this ploy has no effect. Oh no. So, you know what? I have to actually open Battle Kit. I didn't want to do it because it's going to take so long to do all of this, but because I have a special interest with the Martyr's ploy, I'm going to go find out how this affects Wrecker Crew. So what am I looking for here? Reanimated function, the Martyr's TAC op. This ploy has no effect. Okay. Markers don't really reanimation markers until the start of the next turning point. We're never determining control a marker. Oh, okay. That doesn't interact with my concern of Martyrs at all. Cool, fine, all good. Kaskin. So, Kaskin need a big buff, but they are not. They're also a quite boring team. As I said in yesterday's video, I think I can't recall. It's not just that they need a strength buff; they also need a buff to how they play. Frankly, okay. Firefight ploy seize the initiative. Use this firefight ploy at the start of the firefight phase. One friendly Kaskin operative can immediately perform a 1 AP action for free, but it cannot move during that action. You cannot use this ploy if you're the player with initiative. This is really nice. This is a great ploy. This means, in essence, you are guaranteed a double melter shot. Let's be honest. That is the most obvious way people are going to use this. You are going to, your final action of turn 1, if you can manage it, but most likely turn 2, have your melter run up to within range of 2 dudes, shoot and kill 1. Stop. Going into the next activate next turn. If you win initiative, your melter just gets to go first and kill the next guy. That's fine, as per standard, usual, all good. But now, for 1 AP, you guarantee that you get to do that shot. That, very tasty, with absolutely no comeback from the enemy to be able to change that. And that's just like my first initial, most basically obvious way that you can use that ploy, right? Very cool. Very strong. Very strong. I mean, that's 2 dead Marines. Might need to use a bit more extra CP to make that happen, but that's 2 very nearly dead Marines. Right, neutralize target. It's shooting an operative that's expended. So they've removed that it has to be expended. This is good. There was no need for this to need to be for the enemy to be expended for this. It made your target selection really difficult. Good, big fan, nice. Cover retreat. So they're within 6 inches of a ready friendly Kaskin. That's no longer the case. They can be expended. And then that other friendly operative can immediately perform a free shoot action. You can change its order to engage to do so. So that's very nice as well. Great buff there. So if you've got your your recon trooper at the back, but he's the only one that can cover you, you're allowed to swap his order. Very good, mate. Nice. Faction equipment, relics of Cadia, whenever friendly operative is shooting, fighting, or retaliating if you roll 2 or more fails. So this is great. This gives them a buff in melee as well. Nice. Good stuff. And then go to the commandos. Again, it's interesting, and we see below them legionaries as well. It's interesting to see them now, over a year later. Is it over a year? Time flies. I don't know. Only now giving all of these buffs to the teams that are now going away? I feel like some of these teams could have used it a little bit earlier, if I'm honest, but I'm glad that they're making these changes. Yeah, fine. I guess we got to leave it for the whole power creep eventual conversation, right? Because this is just a weird one, but fine. Boss Knob Operative, big chopper weapon, attack stat changed to 5. For the big chopper, I think that used to be 4. It couldn't have been 6. But you've lost punishing. I can't even remember what punishing is. So fair enough. Punishing must be if you rolled a crit, you get another crit. I'm pretty sure earlier in the video I said severe was that, so I've messed up on that. Boss Knob Operative Power Claw. Oh, you get instead of punishing, you get shock. Okay, fine, cool. That's fair. That's fine. Shock's a very good ability. If you strike with a crit, you also block one of their attacks. I like shock. You get it on your Ogrins. That's nice. Boss Knob Operative Crumper Time. The operative perform 2 fight actions during its activation. It is insane that they didn't already have this. Yeah, there you go. That's all I can say on that. Daka Boy. Range 6 is now range 9. What a weird range. Only is that the only gun in the game that has a range 9? Everything else is 8. Yeah. And then faction equipment, collapsible stocks, remove the range weapon rule from the following. Oh. Okay, alright. You just can't use it with the Daka short range anymore. That kind of makes sense, actually. Fair. Okay, nice. And then we get legionaries. Legionaries? I don't know. If I apply mutability and change until the end of the operative's activation, add 1 to its APL stat, but it cannot perform the same action more than once during that activation. Cool, that makes sense. You can't double shoot, double fight, etc. Nemclaw Errata. So this was a weird one. So basically, they've nerfed Vox Scream. Vox Scream used to be you pay a CP, the enemy cannot do what they want to do. They have to pick another model. Nice. Now, you roll a d6, and if you roll above their APL, then your thing works. And if it doesn't work, you get your CP refunded. But yeah, the only thing I can think here, just off the top of the dome, is that perhaps the reason this has come into effect is just bringing everything in line, and they felt that any other form of interrupt or denial had had more of a cost than a single CP to it, or it wasn't guaranteed, and so they wanted to have Vox Scream, which was, in fairness, the best version of this rule, be more in line with that. I don't know. Vox Scream is good and guaranteed to be used every game. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Sure, Vox Scream is good. They've nerfed a good ability. That makes sense logically. I can't argue with it. Fine. I just didn't feel that Nemclaw needed more of a nerf. Although with that said, Nemclaw are really strong. So maybe they did. Yeah, screw it. Screw Nemclaw. They needed a nerf. I don't know if they needed a nerf to Vox Scream is what I'm saying there. Cool. Okay, Rattlings. Cool. So I've had a little bit of a look at Rattlings under the new approved ops, and let's just say they're fresh in my mind. So this is an interesting one to see what they've changed. So first things first, they changed how Scarper works. Scarper used to suck. Okay. And what I mean by that is I only ever play into Marines, and that means I got 3 Scarpers a turn. That's not enough. It means your damage output is really low into elite teams. And of course, we are in an elite team world because Marines are the most favorite of everybody. So now I'll get 4 or 5, which is great. Love to see it. Good stuff. Big fan. Big fan of that change. We then get Purloined Rations have had quite a big buff. So you get to roll your dice before you say whether or not you're going to use it. That's really good. It still can't be used alongside Lucky Round, but if you, for example, you're hitting on 3s with your sniper rifle, you roll all 2s. Now you say, not to worry, I +1 my hit roll. Done. Big fan. I really like that. Being able to roll dice and then deciding if you do a thing is so much better than having to use something before. So that's really good. Obviously, if you use Lucky Round, then you already have Severe, so you can't use the Purloined Rations. Raider and Sneak Operatives have had Dev 1 changed to Dev 2. So they used to just be Bolters 3-4, Dev 1. Or maybe they were even 3-3 Dev 1. God, they weren't good. And the reason I assume they've done this specifically for the Sneak Operative, who gets another thing in a moment as well, is that for the Sneak Operative, a lot of people online were saying you just don't take the Sneak. Like, he's just not a good operative. You'd rather have a normal sniper, which is an absolutely damning indictment of the Sneak. But it's true. He wasn't an offensive model. Like, he wasn't good at shooting things. He was genuinely one of the guys that I would use as a wasted, like as a stalling activation. They've simplified how the Raider slingshot action works. Now you just find a point on terrain that's within 6 of you, and you can move 6 inches from that point. Good. What they had before was cool and did kind of simulate how a slingshot would work in a sense, but that was it was a lot of bollocks really. So this is just a nice simplified version. Point within 6, move within 6. You need visibility to that point both times. Good. And then the Sneak Operative again, the optics action, in addition to what it already does, which is remove obscurity. The stationary profile of this operative suppressed sniper rifle has the lethal fire weapon rule. I think that's good. The Sneak needed something. Yeah. I understand why they don't want to make it Dev 3, but Dev 2 still isn't amazing. It's still just a bolter, really. But lethal 5 is nice. Don't forget that to use that, you have to, you're heavy, so you can't move. As is the case with literally all of the Rattlings. Good guns. They're all heavy. That's why you need the Scarper rule. And then get the Raveners. So this is they've made an interesting change here. Let's get to it. So, or in fact, they've made a massive nerf. But let's get into it. So, firstly, the Prime Operative for your +1 CP every turn rule. They've changed that. So you don't have to roll twice as high as the current turning point, and then you gain a CP. If it's and if you roll less, you take damage. And that's really interesting. That means on turn 1, well, you still need to roll a 2, but on turn 2, you need to roll a 4. So they've basically halved the extra command points that Raveners are going to get. So that's very interesting that they chose to do that. I will definitely say that when I've played Raveners, you basically banked on and guaranteed on your extra command points to make up for not being on your tunnel. And you just accepted you were going to burn through your command points to be effective in melee. But this is actually, I think, quite a big nerf, just that ability alone. We then have a massive nerf which is writhe out of sight. Now, you cannot writhe into sight. So select one friendly operative in the kill zone. That means if you're in the tunnel, you're not in the kill zone, and therefore you cannot writhe out of sight into sight, which was their main ploy that they would use, and was very, very good. And in general, you would use once a game minimum. So yeah, very strong. Nice. You then get the faction rules tunnel. Basically, they've just updated wording so that there was this weird raw thing where they just said Gallow Dark, but now they've changed it to say close quarters. So cool. So we don't have to have a debate about whether or not you can actually measure your tunnel through tomb walls. Good. Right, Sanctifiers errata. Let's get through it. I'm going to say this again, same as Goremongers. Even though I know this is such a boogeyman team, I have so little. I know what they do. I just have so little knowledge of how it actually works on the table. All of this means nothing to me. So I will just read it and then move on to scouts, who I am much more interested in. So normal and crit damage of 4 or more inflicts 1 less damage. That used to be 3 or more. So that is good. Big fan. That was needed from the get-go. It should never have been 3 or more, really. Cool. Rally the Flock is now each that does so must end move closer and visible to, or vice versa. It usually didn't have to be visible, just within 6. It was just an aura, so that is also a nerf. Quite a big nerf, I think, perhaps. We shall see. Faction equipment, Ecclesiarchy text. In the ready set of each strat phase, roll 3d6. I don't know what Ecclesiarchy text did, but now you're rolling 3d6. That's cool. Confessor operative, lead the procession rule. If you do, determine each friendly sanctifier operative that's benefiting from the sermon and is visible to this operative. Okay, so that is basically just the same as the Rally the Flock change. You have to be visible as well as just within 6. Reliquant operative, cult icon rule. Determining control marker within 4 of this operative. Again, I don't know if this used to be 3. Same as the Brood Brother cult icon. They've changed both of those to 4. I'm going to find out. I do apologize, everybody. I do apologize for actually doing some research. I'm apologizing because I'm doing it right here with you, having to watch and listen to it. What did it used to be? 6. Nope. I'm reading the wrong one. Yes. 6. They've taken it down by 2. Okay. Fair enough. It's a nerf. Cool. Makes sense. Drill Abbott, operative, null skull rule, all 3 distance change to 4 inches. I assume it used to be not 3 inches or 4 inches. Breacher operative, defender of faith rule. Whenever this operative controls an objective marker, I assume that used to be a contest. Salvationist operative, conversion field rule. Whenever an operative more than 6 inches from this operative is shooting a friendly sanctifier operative within 6 of this operative, improve that friendly operative save stat by 1. And worse than the X of the piercing. So they've lost lower piercing. Nice. Okay, moving on. Scout Squad. So Scout Squad, I've played a few times. I like Scout Squad. And we also have a really interesting thing with them, which I'll call out now, which is this here. Strategy ploys, adaptable training. New strategy ploy added. But we do not know what this is. The way this has been done in the past, I think it's actually this faction, in fact, has had a new thing added before, and it just gets added in your app or on the eventual PDF document as just a new data card. So they're just highlighting here that, hey, they have a new thing, but because they haven't told us what that new ability is, we actually don't know. So there you go. So strategy deploys gunfire ambush, name change to ambush. Basically, this is really nice. So you used to have gunfire ambush and you had blade ambush, which blade ambush below has been removed, rolled into 1 CP, and basically all weapons, not just ranged weapons or not just melee weapons, get balanced, and the target's expended, they get ceaseless. Nice, big fan. Should have always been that. It's a good thing. Nice, big fan. Jolly good. So, strat ploys, stealth relocation, up to D3 friendly scout squad operatives that have a concealed order and are more than 6 from enemy operatives I feel like that used to be 2, maybe even just 1. Either way, it must be a buff because scouts suck, so they needed a buff. And then we have, I think, obviously we don't know what the what adaptable training is yet, and gunfire ambush is a good buff, but anytime I've played or played against scouts, the sniper being stationary, like just full heavy if they want to shoot well, has sucked. And in fact, the last time I played them, in the post-match breakdown, I was saying I think the sniper needs to be heavy dash. I also said that I think that the 2 heavy weapons should be heavy reposition, but I understand they didn't want to do that yet. But I would say that is the next step. You take both the heavy bolter and the missile launcher to be heavy reposition. But I think the heavy dash for the sniper is a good move. It's the way to go. Good stuff. Does this make Scout Squad go up a tier? It depends what adaptable training is. Off the top of my, just off a basic read, no. I don't think this doesn't change how you're going to play the team. It saves you a command point a turn, max. And maybe your sniper will actually be in the kill zone and you haven't just taken another shotgun, right? Like that's the reality of this change. You save a command point a turn. What is adaptable training? I don't know. Void Dancer, Troop Errata. So this should be nerfs. Let's see. I'm really curious if these are going to be nerfs or buffs. Seek has become Seek Light. Okay, good. Good. We should not be giving Seek to elves. Thank you. Lead player and player operatives blade weapon damage stats changed to 4/6. Severe has been removed. I think this used to be 4/5 because it was a really weird weapon. It wasn't actually a power sword or something, even though it probably should have been, but now they've just made it 4/6. Cool, fine. Nice. That is almost certainly a nerf, though, because losing Severe is not good for you. Back rules Harlequin's Panoply. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Void Dancer troop operative and no attack dice are retained as critical successes, worsen the number of the piercing weapon rule by 1, if any. Note that piercing 1 would therefore be ignored. Okay. I assume this used to be ignore. Yeah, they used to have invuln saves. Now you're just -1 to the piercing. Cool, that's fine. That means if you've got that melter gun, it will be piercing 1 into them instead of piercing 0, which is good. That is a good change. Nice. And then the curtain falls. After you strike with a critical success, if the enemy operative is incapacitated. Oh, interesting. So that is exactly the same as what the change they made to the Banshees is. They've just made the same change here. If you kill the guy, you can't then do a dodgy movement shenanigan thing. You are stuck there. Cool. Cool. There's one more thing, sorry. A commentary. Does once per turning point in the player operative's Luck of the Laughing God rule mean I can only use this rule once during each turning point, no matter how many friendly operatives have that rule? Yes. Good. So, there are many random bits of equipment that say, and like their exact wording, I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it's something to the tune of once per turn or once per game. I'm thinking of the Nemclaw here. Can you tell? Once per game, when an operative does this thing, blah, blah, blah. And so everybody reads it and they say, okay, well, does that mean once per game for everybody? Or because it says once per game when an operative does a thing, does that mean every operative can do it once per game? So just something to keep in mind. I don't know. It's good that they clarify these things is all I'm saying. Warp Coven Errata. 5 Warp Coven operatives from the following list. So this is a big nerf to Warp Coven, to the point that it's crazy that it's coming in now when they're about to be taken out of tournament play, right? So in case you don't know, it used to be you picked 6 operatives. Now you pick 5. They've lost a model and gained 1 wound. Now, thematically, I think this is great. This means they are on par with Deathwatch. Like, these are elite models, and they should be. They are. It's probably how they always should have been, but it's cool to see. There you go. I am just a little bit confused why they've done it now, if you know what I mean. Uh, but for example, if you were going to Worlds and you were taking Warp Coven, which isn't a crazy idea, you are now not taking Warp Coven. I guarantee that. Because don't get me wrong, I think that a good player running 5 Warp Coven is still going to clean house in their local game stores. If you're, I don't think that's an issue. But if you are now taking it to Worlds, I think they've now made Warp Coven, I don't want to say unplayable, sorry, because that sounds bad, but unplayable at that level. Removing an optive, I think, probably makes them what they should have always been. So I like that. There you go. Good decision. Nice. Wrecker Crew, Errata. Lovely. I love the Wrecker Crew. This is the team I'm currently looking at taking the team tournament in November. So let's see what I've got on the go. So the two things, firstly, tanked up. This is the way that you get your extra APL. It used to be if you do a fight or shoot action, you get +1 APL after performing that action. Now you get +1 APL if you charge, shoot, or fight. What does this mean in reality? It means that on Tomb World, you can open a door, charge, fight. Whereas before, you would only be able to open a door, charge, and then you're stuck there. And that means the enemy can react to you. That is the realistic change of this. I think this is good, and probably gives them what they need to do what they need to do in Tomb World. There you go. Has it made them overpowered? No, because outside of that, there's no buff to getting the +1 APL when you charge, instead of when you shoot or fight. So there you go. It's literally just when it comes to, I need to open a door first. That's not entirely true, sorry. You could also, if the enemy's right next to you, something you always take crack grenades when you play Wrecker. So, or frags, but frags suck. So you take cracks. So you could crack grenade, see what that does, then charge fight. Whereas before, of course, you would only be able to crack grenade, charge. So there you go. And then extra armor has been changed. I wouldn't say buffed, it's been changed. So it used to subtract 1 from your move and give you +1 health. So you'd go from 12 health to 13 health. Now it subtracts 1 from your move and increases your save stat by 1. Nobody's taking this. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Are you ever taking this? Let me think. So you are vulnerable to being shot a lot. That is true, because as a team, you get buffs when you are engaged normally. So you are going to be shot by every team you go into. But going from a 4-up save to a 3-up save for -1 to your move, okay. So you might take this into very, very niche and specific matchups where you are thinking of running mainly ranged, mainly shooting as wreckers, because then you don't care that you lose your charge distance, maybe. My initial thought there, of course, was into Raveners, because they suck into shooting, but they're not on the board, so you're not going to shoot them. I don't know. Let's just say when I'm looking at my equipment options again next time I play Wrecker Crew, and I see, oh, but I want to take crack grenades. Which of my faction equipment am I going to drop? It's still going to be extra armor every single time. So I don't think that's helped. Nice, good. Moving on. So Tomb World Errata. So this is a nice change here. I like this. Equipment terrain features cannot be set up within 2 inches of a teleport pad. Whenever an operative base is touching a teleport pad, if another operative is on that teleport pad, those operatives are treated as being within each other's control range. It was possible on a 25mm base, or maybe even a 28 or 32, to teleport onto a teleport pad and then put your base as far away from the enemy as possible, and so you were outside of an inch, you could teleport and then shoot the guy that was base to base with the teleport pad. I'm glad they've removed that. There you go. And also stopping the dumb shenanigans with equipment being next to the teleport pad. Good, makes sense. I approve. It still has an issue in case you've played it on Tomb World. I think it is just map 1. The teleport pad is in a really weird position on the right side of the map, I think, where it's right next to a breach wall. I really don't like that. It's the only map where it comes up, but you get into really weird scenarios where who can fight who and such. I don't know. There you go. I don't like that. They've changed something to that, which I'm not going to read because who cares? Cool. Right. I'm done. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Only an hour. Only an hour. Me not understanding most of what I said. There you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that you've enjoyed me very poorly reading through this. Again, I'm sick. I'm sorry. There you go. This is really straight in my voice. I do apologize for the presentation that is my channel, for everything I've ever done to you, if I'm honest. Yeah, my bad on that one. But if you have made it to the end, legit, wow, you deserve a goddamn present. And that present will, of course, be a triple hello. Wow, so wholesome. Guys, if you made it to the triple hello without skipping anything, let me know, because you are a hero, because this has been an abominable, terrible episode. Do we call them episodes? I don't know, man. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. What do you think? Drop a comment. I think these are some good changes here. It's much more effectual than the last Dataslate was. So I like what I see here. I am looking forward to in 3 months' time when they actually do the appropriate changes to Deathwatch and Canoptech. And that's good stuff. Thank you. Bye.